Next on Worcester News tonight, the verdict in the House of Horrors case, the fate of the Blackstone mother who had 3 dead babies inside of her home. Plus, a close call in Oxford as a car crashes into a building. The accident captured on surveillance cameras. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Olivia Lemon. Today, a judge delivered the verdict in the House of Horrors murder trial. It's a case we've been watching closely. Prosecutors say 3 dead babies were found inside Erika Murray's home in 2014. Our Rosalind Flaherty was in court today for the verdict announcement. She joins us live now with the details. Rosalind.
Olivia, the verdict may be a surprise to some. Murray was found not guilty on her most serious charge. There was no jury in this case, so the decision was up to the judge, and she says she followed the law.
I find her not guilty of the murder charge.
Judge Janet Kenton Walker delivers the closely watched verdict in the so-called House of Horrors murder trial. She found Erika Murray not guilty of second-degree murder of her child.
This case involves a senseless, tragic story about a dysfunctional parent and her family. Regardless of how disturbing the facts surrounding this case are to the community at large, and to me as a parent, I cannot take into account those feelings.
In 2014, a neighbor found a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old covered in feces inside Murray's Blackstone home. Investigators later found 3 dead infants hidden in closets.
There was no evidence of any of those children dying as a result of anything she did.
Judge Kenton Walker believes Murray suffers from a personality disorder. Prosecutors had argued against that. She also found her not guilty on 2 counts of reckless endangerment of a child, charges relating to her 2 oldest children. Judge Kenton Walker did find Murray guilty on 2 counts of assault and battery on a child for her 2 younger children, as well as guilty on 2 counts of animal cruelty. While Murray's defense attorney says this was a victory of sorts for his client, he says it's not a happy day for anyone.
She lost her kids, and she, despite what that house looked like, despite the lives those kids led, she loves those kids. And so for her, this tragedy is forever.
Her sentencing is scheduled for July 11th. Each guilty charge could carry a maximum of 5 years. Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
A close call in Oxford when a driver steps on the gas instead of the brakes. Her car slammed into a gas station in town. Police tweeting out this picture saying thankfully no one was injured. Our Chandler Walsh joins us live now with the details. Chandler. Olivia, the incident happened late this morning on Sutton Ave. The scene got attention by drivers passing by who saw what they thought was smoke covering the area. Surveillance video captures a car backing into an Oxford convenience store, the impact shattering a glass window. Police say the car hit the cash register counter, setting off the fire suppression system. It released powder from the gas station canopy, covering the entire lot.
So when you pull up, we're getting people call, I think there's an explosion. Why? Because I see nothing but white smoke at the store.
Definitely weird. Definitely strange. Nothing I've ever seen before.
Kevin O'Rourke works across the street. He was there earlier before making his morning delivery.
I came back and someone backed into the fire extinguishing unit.
Lieutenant William Marcelonis says the driver was trying to back into a spot, but when she went to brake, she accelerated. He says she's a regular at the convenience store, stopping there every day for lottery tickets and tea.
I'm sure this will be a running joke with the operator and the employees of the store because they see each other every day.
A store employee had walked away from the register moments before the crash.
But the biggest thing is you're talking plate glass windows. If she had been standing there, there's no doubt in my mind somebody would have been injured.
Police say the accident could have happened to anyone, and luckily no one was hurt. They're urging drivers to pay attention to safety features like backup alarms, but not to rely on them.
We become so relaxed now, we become complacent, and we're not aware of vehicles around us. We're not aware of pedestrians around us.
Again, police are using this as a cautionary tale. They say this could have been much worse, and it serves as a reminder to minimize distractions and pay attention to surroundings. Olivia? All right, thank you, Chandler. Massport narrows down the search for a new CEO, announcing today there are 2 finalists for the position. Massport's board of directors is expected to pick a candidate on June 27th. The screening committee selected 2 Boston area locals, Lisa Wielden and Brian Goldman. The board says more than 100 people applied for the position. John Prankavicius has been serving as acting CEO and will continue to serve in the role until a new CEO begins work. He will return to his previous position as the authority's chief financial officer. Kelley Square and Union Station are among some of the central Massachusetts transportation areas receiving more state money. The Massachusetts Department of Transportation board announced they have approved a 5-year, $18.3 billion capital investment plan. The plan will guide investments in the state's transportation system between fiscal year 2020 and 2024. One major part of the plan is the $17.2 million Kelley Square improvement project. Another $4.4 million will go towards the Union Station design project. MassDOT says approximately 45% of the total investments will focus on the reliability and resiliency of the state's core transportation systems. New details in the David Ortiz shooting investigation. The man accused of shooting the Red Sox legend in the Dominican Republic now faces a federal drug indictment in New Jersey. This as Dominican authorities announced Ortiz was not the intended target. Perry Russum has the latest from Mass General, where Ortiz continues to recover.
The man accused of shooting David Ortiz is being charged with more crimes in the United States. According to a federal indictment on January 22nd, Ralphie Ferreira Cruz conspired to sell drugs in New Jersey, 100 grams or more of heroin, and an undisclosed amount of cocaine. Prosecutors say he was carrying a loaded gun, a .40 caliber Glock 23 like the one you see here. It allegedly had an extended magazine, meaning it could hold more bullets. He's facing more than 40 years in prison for those charges. The indictment was announced today, signed by the U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, as Cruz sits in a Dominican jail. He's one of 11 people arrested in the assassination attempt of David Ortiz, a shooting being called a case of mistaken identity. Investigators say the bullet was intended for a different man sitting with Ortiz, the cousin of an alleged drug lord. Last week, we told you about a different case in America involving Cruz. In Clifton, New Jersey, he's wanted for armed robberies from 2 years ago. Police in the Dominican are still looking for 3 men involved in this shooting, including the mastermind. At Mass General, Perry Russum, Worcester News Tonight.
Construction on a downtown theater is expected to move forward after the Worcester Business Development Corporation raised additional funding. Renderings from the WBDC show what the future black box theater will look like. It will be built out of existing space at 20 Franklin Street. The WBDC purchased the building in 2011 for $300,000. They have already added in several businesses and organizations. They recently received more than $1.4 million in donations for the theater and are hoping to raise another $500,000 more for additional amenities.
Obviously, having Mechanics Hall and having the Hanover Theater is a good, solid foundation, but there's also the need for smaller type black box theaters for plays and an appropriate venue for smaller acts.
And the theater will hold almost 300 people and is expected to be complete in 2020. Mass Wildlife is urging drivers to watch for turtles as they cross the roads. They say spring is the reptile season of movement, but some may wonder what to do if you come across one. Our Gretchen LaRosa explains.
They're on the move, though very slowly. Marion Larson says Mass Wildlife receives a lot of turtle calls this time of year as breeding season begins.
They are vulnerable to, obviously, cars hitting them because they're slow. And we are encouraging people to help them when it's safe.
As they cross the roads, turtles can be helped, but Mass Wildlife says people should be careful.
What we do suggest is just coming from behind. If you have a shovel or there's a big stick, and just kind of help giving it a push in the direction that it's going.
6 of the 10 native turtle species in Massachusetts are endangered. Larson says people shouldn't try to relocate turtles because it will do more harm than good for the reptile.
The turtles are hardwired to go in this particular direction. They come back to the same site year after year and lay their eggs.
Mass Wildlife is partnering with MassDOT to put up more of these turtle crossing signs. They say people can call in to report areas where they see turtles often.
Partnership with MassDOT called Linking Landscapes for Massachusetts Wildlife, and a part of that program is to engage the public through a citizen science program to report their road mortality observations, everything from rare species to general wildlife.
Paulson says in recent years, one Massachusetts town saw more than 100 animals killed in the road over the span of a month. Wildlife experts encourage drivers to be vigilant on the road, but also put their own safety first.
So if you happen to come across a turtle on a roadway, first and foremost, your safety is priority number one. If it's moving in a direction, move it in the way that it's going. Don't pick it up and bring it to a nearby pond or a wetland. Always move it in the direction that it's headed.
Gretchen LaRosa, Worcester News Tonight.